Yo, what's going on, everybody? Tonight we have an exciting night, should I say. It is Next Gen Empowerment Tour 2022. And listen, this is Hyped Unplugged in a new round. We decided to go to a new space where we can talk to our next generation. And so tonight, I am so excited. But before we get into the special guests, do me a favor. I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I don't want y'all to leave me hanging. We're about 20 subs away from our goal. And so tonight, I believe we can hit that with your help. And so go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube channel so that you can stay in touch with the Empowerment Tour. Now, listen, we got several weeks that we're going to be going around talking to our next generation as it relates to empowering them. And tonight is the first night, and we cannot wait to get into our Empowerment Tour. So do me a favor, text somebody, get on the phone and say, yo, Hyped Unplugged is doing an Empowerment Tour. And tonight we want everybody to be a part of this. I cannot do this without Pastor and Lady K. This, what you see tonight, is because of them, and we want to shout them out in a special way. We love you, and we cannot wait to connect with you because you are a part of this as well. And listen, before we get into our discussion, let's go ahead and pray so that we can have God meet us right in the center of this conversation. Father, we thank you tonight for this amazing Next Gen Tour that you've placed inside of our hearts. We pray tonight that the content and the information would not only touch those that are in the room, but those that will be streaming, those that will be watching the replay. We pray for every student, every parent that is locked in tonight and that is locked into the screen and that will be able to partake in this conversation. I pray that you would crown their heads with wisdom, information, and a solution to their problem. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen. Let's go ahead and get right into it. I have some friends here tonight. They're more like family. I have my boy Marcus and I have my boy Dewan. We're family. So tonight we just want to get into this conversation. As we stated, this is the Next Gen Empowerment Tour. And what we decided to do was have a full-blown conversation as it relates to empowering teenagers from 12, if you will, to 17. And we want to have that conversation with you. So tonight, without further ado, we want to introduce Marcus and Dewan, and we're going to have a conversation as it relates to the next gen. So listen, fellas, how y'all doing tonight, man? Are y'all ready to talk tonight, man? Y'all good?
Yeah, we good, man. Excited to be here. We appreciate the invite for sure.
Definitely, man. It's a long time coming, man. We always do this, man. So we definitely appreciate you.
So listen, tonight, fellas, we got a special conversation. We are empowering the next generation. And what that looked like, we just decided to have a conversation. As you all know, we are literally from the same place. We're here in Dallas, but we are here to representing California, you know, in a major way. And so, as you know, there has been so many opportunities for us to talk, but tonight we decided to come together and talk about the next generation and empowering them. So we got peer pressure, we got, you know, individuals searching for their identity, boys and girls, teenagers. So what does that look like as it relates to empowering them, trying to figure out, which direction do I go? Do I fit in with this group? Do I try to sell drugs? Or do I even try to fall in love with Jesus? Whatever that looks like, from your perspective, what does that look like empowering the next generation in that particular way?
Yeah, well, I'll let Dr. Bennett go.
Man, first of all, appreciate, you having us here, Brother
Absolutely.
Phillips. I think when we're talking about empowering, I think different kids are motivated by different things. I think your environment gives you certain things that you look towards. And I think your environment reinforces certain things. In certain environments, you're reinforced if you're smart. In other environments, you're reinforced if you dress well or you talk well. In other environments, unfortunately, if you engage in illegal behavior such as the trafficking of drugs, you are empowered. I think if we're trying to continue the strength and the development of our youth, it's extremely important to expose them to things within their community that gives them an option to communicate with things that align with who they are as a person. I mean, if you think about a kid who loves drawing, if there's a local art studio around, or a kid who loves music, is there a studio where he can go and listen to music to perform, whether it's hip hop, opera,
Yeah.
R&B. So I think a lot of what needs to happen to empower kids is to give them options, right?
Wow.
Exposure makes a big difference. Experience make a big difference. So one of the keys is definitely options.
Yo, that's good, man. I think the lack of exposure on any front can, in my opinion, can stop them from their true holistic success. Because you got to think, there's some people who are adults that have never gone out their home city. They've never been on an airplane. They've never been, out of state. And so when you talk about exposure, and I know, Marcus, that's something that we can really look at too, because kids, they want exposure, but sometimes they're limited as it relates to exposure.
Yeah, so, I mean, just touching a little bit on that too. I mean, I'll just touch on, since we're right there with the exposure.
Yeah.
We all grew up, were born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, we didn't, if I wanted to learn something from somebody, I had to physically get in my vehicle, get on the bus or whatever it is, go over to that person to learn that.
Yeah.
These kids really, honestly, in my opinion, have a lot of exposure at their fingertips.
Wow. That's
and
good.
it's a double-edged sword, because they can learn without having to leave, without having to, what it could be in a comfort of their home.
Yeah.
But also too, we have to be as parents, and we also have to be as adults and mentors, however this space is, big brothers, big sister, whatever it is, capacity that you are in these kids' life, is to be able to monitor that exposure, And so
I love that.
At the end of the day, I mean, and we kind of talked about this, touched on it a little bit, the two-parent home.
Yeah.
In the Black community, that is looked at as a successful household, right? Because you have two parents. We all come from different, my dad wasn't there, it was just my mom.
Yeah. Same here.
And we all come from background. We have some that have both parents.
Yeah.
But it takes a little bit more than just both parents being in the house, because I just stay in my space. With my son, I'm very active, very current, very present. And before I got back into the company and the corporate America, I was self-employed. And so I was barber just like yourself by trade.
Yeah.
And I had him at the shop, and he would try to get me clients and,
Yeah.
hey, Dad, can you give me a chair? I want to be a barber.
Yeah.
And that's because he was around, I was showing him that. And so then when I crossed back over to corporate America, I'm still present, I'm still active, I'm still there in my kid's life, but now he's taking a different turn because I'm not there to monitor every exposure that comes to him.
Gotcha.
So
That's good.
it's more than just the empowerment. It's also too about, hey, like, what are they being exposed to? Okay, I don't want to be. We all did it. We all had to, when we used to watch those movies. And we wasn't supposed to see something.
Right.
They was covering the eyes. Like, put your hand in it because they didn't want you to see it.
But you know what? That's a good part right there, because we literally couldn't watch certain type of movies.
Yeah, facts.
I remember my mom. It was like, yo, we got to turn that.
Right.
Alton can't watch that, or DeJuan can't watch. Marcus, we can't watch that, because what we physically see can be a trigger to something, even if it's premature.
Right.
But now let's look at it like this. We got TikTok, we got Instagram, we got Snapchat. Like we talked about it before. What is deemed to be pure and just something innocent has literally turned into something low-key perverted.
Well, I think if we're talking about the things that we give our kids access to, we have smartphones. And from a smartphone, they can get into, history, science, they can get into gangster stuff, they can also get into some pornographic stuff, right? That's right. So the advancement of technology has given kids more access, but I think that what we have to be mindful as parents is how early do we grant that access. You can't shelter your kids from the world that they live in. You're best at preparing them, but you also want to be sure that their brains are ready to receive the things that they get. I think that one of the best things that you can give a kid is a book, right? Some fictional books, some non-fictional books, some stories that they can really get into, and they can allow their imagination to go with the story. And I think when the kids really get into reading and they get into this, research and discovering things, then they're not as likely to want to sit down and watch some gangster TV or trash talk. But if they're not exposed to that, if they're not exposed to, my son and I, we sit down, he's 8, we'll sit down and we'll read together. I'm reading my book, he'll read his book, he'll tell me about his book, I'll tell him about my book. So now in our household, sitting down and reading is a good thing. We rather do that sometimes than watch TV. So I think it's about shifting the direction of kids and their resources that we want them to be involved in. When our parents covered our eyes,
Absolutely.
they shifted our direction, and I think we have to continue to do the same thing.
Marcus, can I say something to this? Because Mark and DeJuan, you touched on this. What happens if we train our kids? The Bible talks about training our kids up in the way that they should go, right? So they won't depart once they get older. But what about if I, as a parent, I did all of those things? You know, last night, yesterday was Zoe's birthday, and so before she went to bed, we prayed together, right?
Yeah.
We can do all of those things, but what happens if we give them all of the exposure to books, and then they get to a certain point where they just want to be a real gangster. They want to be a goon, as they say. They want to be with the crowd that looks appealing. And so it's like short-term success to them because they got the clothes, they got the popularity. So as a parent or even a young person, how do you differentiate the two? You talked about, as a child, giving them the tools, but then when they get to a certain point, something switch.
So it's just, I'll give it to you on a small scale, right? If I go to your house is not decorated the same way your mom's house is.
Okay.
But I guarantee you your spices are in the same closet, in the same pantry as it is at your mom's house, right? For me, I used to hate, my mom used to make me hand wash the dishes and put them in the dishwasher. I had to clean, I call my mom the female Danny of Full House, you know what I'm saying? Because we was always cleaning. But now I'm doing that with my kids.
Yeah.
I'm still hand washing my dishes and putting them in the sink.
Wow.
Seasoning in the same spot. So when
good.
I'm going with this is, there are certain things that's gonna last in us from a parent to a child. And then that shift that you're talking about is called their own individual personality.
Okay.
I can't stop my son from being the biggest drug pen if that's what he wants to be. But I can expose him to what that life is going to be like if that's the avenue he chooses to go there.
I love it.
I can also tell him, hey, this is also too if you want to go do this. I used to tell my brother coming out the house, I went to college so my brother didn't have that excuse saying, well, you didn't go, so I'm not going to go. If you want to go, you can make it. We both came from the same household. And it's just about making them aware of the decisions they make. I can't stop my son from making decisions. Today I got a call from my son's school. I feel like he know how I am. Go to school. I don't see you in school to be no fool. I see you in school, get education, have fun while you're there. But I'm gonna get those conversations anyways. He's 9 years old. I have to understand he's 9. I'll be 39. The Lord said the same in October. I can't sit still sometimes. So at the end of the day, and we used to always hear this growing up, and we even say it now. I've been your age. You trying to get to mine. But what does that really mean when you tell somebody that?
I like
so
that.
you have to remember what it was like to be 9, what it was like to be 15, what it was like being peer pressure if you wasn't an athlete or if you wasn't popularity or if you was, we used to look across the quad at some of the kids that didn't have no friends. You know what I'm saying? So we have to remember, because we have that in our muscle memory. Our kids don't, because they're being 15 for the first time. They're being 18 for the first time. And the peer pressure is definitely there. And it's not going anywhere.
Let's talk to that, peer pressure, because I think that's a pivotal point in this next generation. Peer pressure on many levels, right? Literally trying to find my identity as a young person. Who am I? Why am I even, why was I created? God created me, but why? Or some may say, I don't even believe in God. Or they may say, I'm mad at God because he took a loved one from me. Or, I'm in this situation and I've been dealt a bad debt. So peer pressure is so many different thoughts. How can we, again, I like to say the word holistically, because I think if we just speak to one aspect, that's great. But I think we're talking to a next generation that really want to figure out, man, what's next for me? And peer pressure is, man, it's going through the roof. I got to make a decision. Do I go over here with some of the friends that I actually gel with, or do I try to force myself into this group over here? I don't gel with them, but I like what they are doing.
I mean, that goes back to our environment conversation, right? You got to think about it. Your kids are going to be susceptible to the peer pressure of the environment in which they're in. So again, if we have our kids at schools that's in the hood, then they're going to be likely to be subject to those things. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get into those things, but those are the things they see. Yeah. But what if the peers that you had your kids surrounded by were kids who were into sports, or kids who were in extracurricular activities, or studied a lot? Those are the peer pressures. They may have a different type of peer pressure. Their peer pressure mean, hey, let's sneak out of the house so we can go to the library, or let's sneak out of the house to go watch this play. I think it's really about exposure. Now, back to our smartphones. When we were younger, our peer pressure was the kids that are in our neighborhood or the kids that are at our school. These kids' peer pressure is comparing themselves to a kid that lives in New York City that they ain't never met, that they watch their TikTok videos, and they see them kids having something different. So I think preparing our kids and surrounding them with things that we would want them to have. Yes, your kid may decide they want to be a drug dealer, but that's because they seen a drug dealer, they say, he got a nice car, he got a nice house, I want that. Well, what if we surrounded them with a lawyer, a friend, or a doctor, or a police officer, and we let them go to our friend's house to see their big house and see their nice car, and then they say, Daddy, what does this person do? Oh, they went to college. Or, hey, you want to move drugs? Okay, we're going to go to pharmacy school, and you're going to be a pharmacist, and you can go move drugs for Walgreens or in your private practice, right? I think it's making sure kids understand that if you want those nice things, there are many different avenues to get them. And when you're looking at your peers, you're going to have peers for different reasons. You have your friends who do stuff that are, acceptable by your parents, and you have your friends who don't do those things. You learn from both friends. You learn from good friends and bad friends. That's where you form your own identity and you make your own choices.
Man, I was at the mall yesterday, and I was actually at the little kiosk. You know how they clean your shoes? So I got a pair of my shoes clean, and somehow we got on my profession. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm a professional barber, one of the guys that were cleaning the shoes. He's like, oh, man, you a barber? He said, man, I'm a barber too. I said, okay, well, where do you cut at? And he was saying, well, I don't cut, but I'm trying to get into it. I said, well, what are you trying to do? Because he wanted some advice. And his thing was, he said, man, I'm just trying to hustle real quick. And I was like, you ain't trying to go far? Like, nah, I'm trying to hustle now. So it's kind of like that instant gratification. This generation is looking for that instant gratification. Again, the nice car or, the drip, whatever that looks like. And I was just taken aback because I'm like, I see greatness in him. I'm like, man, you could take this mindset and this grind mentality and go further than what you see right now. And so I think, Marcus, it's really an instant gratification type of deal, to DeJuan's point, as it relates to what these kids see now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely I was having this conversation at work today. Floyd Money Mayweather, right? Big time, showtime, money, everything, all day money, right? That's great.
Yeah.
Because I'm 38 and I can understand what he's doing now because of what he did prior to today. He put in the work. See, and they don't understand. He ran 8-10 miles home and he missed out on some parties. And that's the thing about it is that our kids don't know how to miss out. I mean, it's been plenty of times that DeJuan and them, they went out to Houston or went on trips. I'm like, man, I got to miss this one. You know what I'm saying? Because I got to do this. I got priorities that oversee that. That take priority over that. Yeah. So it's just the instant gratification is because of what they see. They don't see the work behind that, and they think, okay, let me hustle real quick. Boom, I'm gonna hit a lick. Yeah. Well, the hustle real quick, they have to understand it's not a real quick hustle. It's a continual hustle, because once you get it, you got to continue to do it. Taking the social media stuff. Yeah. It's not about just you posting and you get 1 million followers. You gotta have good content. You gotta be consistent.
Absolutely.
You gotta know how to hashtag. You gotta know when to post, what to post. You gotta know who to tag stuff with. So it goes back. It's all back to the exposure, all back to the educational part of it. Cool. You want to be an influencer? This is how we do it. You know what I'm saying? I've learned some things from you. In regards to the whole barber game and just hashtag, and man, I got clients over that. Yeah. But it's that it goes back to, let's deal with the elephant in the room. They got to deal with, we talked about the environment, we talked about all that, it's the black community. You know what I'm saying? It's a crab in a bucket. I got all this knowledge. I don't want to tell DeJuan, because if DeJuan take off with the knowledge I gave him, I feel like he owed me something. Like, bro, I'm the one that got you there. Mm-hmm. No, it's the information that got me there, and it's what I did with that information.
It's tricky, though, because you're right about the crab in the bucket, but you got to remember, in order for people to have, there has to be have-nots, right? So the system is set up for people who look like us to have not, right?
Right.
Now, granted, we don't blame everything on the system. A lot of individual ownership, family ownership is about why we are or aren't successful. But the system doesn't want us to be successful. So it's like there are certain things that are put in place that we have to train our kids to overcome. Where we go wrong as African Americans, we trying to raise our kids like white people raise theirs. They're not going to have the same experiences.
So
our
speak
kids
on that.
need
What
to
you
be-
mean? So respectfully, I got to cut you off.
Go ahead.
What you mean we trying to raise them like white kids? Like, what does that mean?
I think we try to put our kids in these bubbles. We try to limit their exposure to things. We try to make sure we safeguard everything around them instead of understanding as adults, as black men and black women in this world, there's never going to be safeguards around them. They're going to have to learn to be resilient. And the only way you learn how to be resilient is you learn to fall and get back up. Now, there's levels to it, right? I don't want my kid to be raised in the hood where their falling can be, getting killed through drugs, but I want my kid to be able to experience some adverse situations, me not come and coddle him, his mother not come and coddle him, and he learned emotional intelligence, emotional resiliency to deal with it. Because again, we can't be showing up at schools dealing with the teachers and all that. We have to train our kids to be able to articulate themselves and express themselves through those situations, because if not, when they're going to be adults, they're going to be in college, they're going to drop out and quit their jobs because they're used to their mamas and daddies dealing with it. Where when white people have their mamas and daddies deal with it, they listen. When we have their mamas and daddies deal with it, they call security on us. So there's aspects of the system that's in place that we have to understand. It's not built for us to win, but we will win and we will continue to win, but we have to understand that we pushing our kids to thrive instead of just float along. We don't need to be in survival mode, we need to be in thrival mode.
And I think that's both sides are good because, whether it's, one culture or the other culture, I think that we all have something instinctively inside of us as parents and then the next gen to be successful. Now, one of the things that I think it was Warren Buffett, he says it takes 10 years, 10,000 hours
10,000 hours
to be an overnight success. Do you think that this next generation look at that and say, man, that's too much work? Because what I want and what I see, I want what I want now, Is that something that you think?
I mean, that's definitely. I mean, they say, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite
One bite
at
at
a
a
time.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so all we see is the elephant. All we see is the 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
But you have to understand your audience, though, man. It's, I'm so optimistic, and honestly, a lot of stuff what you say, really bothers me. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, why do we have to have the have-nots to have the haves? Why can't everybody have?
It's capitalistic system.
But why can't everybody have, though? It's because of what's been put in us to say, man, they can't have, I need somebody to cook the fries so somebody can sell the fries and somebody can eat the fries. Well, why I can't do all of it?
Well,
why I can't have the fries, sell the fries, and eat them? You know what I'm saying?
I agree that would be ideal. I would love for that to be the case, but that's ideal.
So then change that because you have the power to change the narrative.
No.
Because society says
changing the narrative doesn't change the system.
It does, because
doesn't.
you have to start with a conversation, which is what this is. If at the end of the day we're talking about empowering the next generation, it's three black dudes right here. How many black, white, Asian, all that's out, Mexican, Hispanic, whatever you know what I'm saying, that's out there, we're not gonna touch all of them, but we're gonna start a conversation. And so I think we have too many closet conversations and we go along with everything and say, you know what, I'm gonna change the environment around me, but I'm gonna let that roll with that roll over there. I'm gonna let that do what it do over there. You know what I'm saying? And it's the 10,000 hours. They don't want to do that. They don't want to work. I mean, right now you can't even get nobody to work because you either became dependent or independent during this whole pandemic. And it's about what was spoon-fed to them, was handed to them. They don't want to work for it. Everything came easy to them. But they don't understand that it didn't come easy. A lot of the behind the scenes was the work that was put into why they have what they have. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just, at the end of the day, it's you as the person that's communicating to know your audience, to know what it is that they're, because if I know, Alton, I know you don't want to work, I'm not going to tell you, man, it take $10,000 for you to get to where you at. Alton, what I need you to do this week, man, go get this book and read it. We're going to get you to where you need to be. All right, you read that book? Boom, let's have a conversation. I'm building on those 10,000 hours. We throw this term out loosely as a mentor. Well, what are you doing as a mentor to take ownership of that next generation or that next conversation. When I tell all of my employees, man, you got to be 2 conversations above where you at. Because if you fall short of that second level, you're gonna definitely hit where you at, and you're gonna meet where your boss is at. But you have to be in front of that. And I was telling them that's one of the things I tell them. And another thing I tell them, and I'll let y'all chime in, is be in front of the conversation. Be in front of the question. Because if you're not, you're going to be reacting a lot of times, and then you're going to be quoting what's been going on for decades, what's been going on here. This is what we have. This is what the system perpetuates us to do. This is the crab in the bucket mentality. Man, I'm tired of all that.
Yeah.
Like at some point, like, you know what I'm saying? You got, and I'm finna tie it all the way back in. It goes back to, we don't teach kids how to be an individual anymore. You talk about fitting into this crowd and this crowd. Why we don't talk about fitting into what's in behind the mirror? You know, I told you this before. I said I have this quote, this thing. I mean, I'm filled with a lot of quotes, a lot of things here, but I call it a window vision and a mirror vision. You know, if I tell you look out the window, you're gonna tell me everything you see. But the minute I put a mirror in front of you and tell me what you see, you're gonna tell me what you want me to see. You're gonna tell me what you want me to know, not what you actually see. You're not gonna tell me that it's a black man in that mirror that's broken. He can't feed his family. He don't know where he going. He's struggling. Or you gonna say, man, yeah, that's a fresh young dude right there. He got a clean cut, nice outfit. Man, you know what I'm saying? So we gotta stop with this system. We gotta stop saying like, man, move the needle. Put the record player back on the and move the needle, man.
So we can move the needle, and I'll say this: Can you guys? And I know DeJuan, you wanted to speak to that. How can we, with all of that, how can we empower and encourage? I guess you could say, if this is in closing remarks, how can we do that to somebody who's 15 years old, who's a sophomore in high school, or someone who's getting ready to graduate and they have anxiety through the roof because they don't know what's next for them? Whether it's falling into systems, as you spoke about, and you're like looking at the person in the mirror, what do you see? Whether they're broken, whatever that looks like to that individual, can we empower them with some remarks in that particular way?
Yeah, I think empowering them to figure out who they are and who they want to be, right? We talked about when kids get to their teenage stage and they become kind of a little rebellious, a little defiant because they're in their autonomy stage of their development. I think the empowerment process starts to figure out who the kid is and what they want for themselves, right? And then despite your agreements or disagreements on what they want for themselves, helping them figure out how to do the research, how to get the environment. Who do you need to connect with? Hey, all right, you say you want to be a manager at T-Mobile. Okay, let's take you into the T-Mobile store. Let's introduce you to a manager.
I love that.
You know, let's expose you to the people that you want to be involved with. You want to go to college. All right, there's 6 or 7 colleges around here. Let's go walk around campus on a normal day so you can see what a normal life is like. So you can really envision yourself in there. So I think that sometimes we tell a kid to pick up the computer and do research. Well, let's actually go do research. Let's go walk in those spaces. And when you walk in those spaces, you feel like I've been there before. So it starts to seem real and you start to visualize it. So I think empowering them is figure out what they want and help them get there. Not what you want from them, but figure out what they want and help them learn how to get there. You help them build that house, that foundation, that system, one brick at a time.
So are you saying take them to the finish line and have them walk backwards?
No, I'm saying that you expose them to the thing that they want and you give them the tools to help them get there, and then you guide them along the way. Not standing in front of them, not standing behind them, but standing side by side where they feel comfortable enough that they can take that risk and they have some support. Because a lot of times, kids are people, adults. We're afraid to open a business, we're afraid to go to college because we feel like if we jump and we fall, we're gonna fail. Instead of realizing, nah, bro, you jump, I got you. You need some food, some groceries. While you're in college, just call me. Matter of fact, today I'm gonna ride around and pay some bills for my business, pull up and come ride with me so you can see how it is to have your own.
That's good.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate, that, everything that you said. I mean, I definitely took takeaways from that because I feel like I can be better at that with my son, and that's and that's why I'm asking, take him to the finish line and walk backwards. And that's what you said, basically same thing. So I definitely just wanted to understand so that I can take that and move that forward too. So I definitely appreciate that. I was watching something on TikTok just to kind of come to where you at. Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, Yankees. He's 5th of all time, he said, at strikeouts. So that means there's 4 other people that have struck out more than he has. Mm-hmm. But he is one of the most respected, most feared at bat when he get up there like, man, it's A-Rod, And so it's about embracing the failure. Mm-hmm. How many of us can say, you know what, man, I got 12 no's today. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I only need 15 more. Mm-hmm. And so it's asking them, like, what is failure to you? What is success to you? Yeah. And to what Brother Bennett over here said is, asking them what it is and not putting your thought on what it is that they want to be, but asking them and embracing that and showing them how to move and navigate through that. Mm-hmm. So I know what failure is to me. I know what success is to me. It can be different to y'all. Yeah. And so we have to take that conversation and ask them what it is that you want to do. What is it, if you don't get there, what does failure look like to you? Okay, well, let me navigate you through that failure, because it's going to happen. You're going to get some doors shut in your face. You're going to have this. You're going to have some groups that you thought that you wanted to hang out with, and they're going to turn their backs on you. Yeah. How do you do that? So a lot of times we set our next generation up for the success of life, but we don't set them up for the failures. Man, that's where we have to change, is setting them up for failure. I know it sounds crazy. It's so good. But if you don't set me up for a failure, I won't appreciate the success. Because and we talk about it, if I got handed $1 million, I'm not ready for that, because I don't know what it is to not to be able to afford a gallon of milk to give my son something to eat. You know what I'm saying? So I can't appreciate that $1 million. Shit, I got him for to go blow it. We read about it all the time. People win the lotto, they broke in 30 days to almost a year. Mm-hmm. And so we have to do a better job of setting our next generation up for failure so that they can appreciate success when it comes. And so it's just about making them understand that it's okay to be an individual. And last thing I say, like, one of the things I did with my daughter, she's at a predominantly white school, but Madam C.J. Walker, I had her watch that, because I want you to understand it's okay to be comfortable in your skin. It's okay to wear your hair natural. You don't have to wear it down. You can choose to do this. They're going to want to touch your hair. That's not okay. Be you and be who you want to be. Don't be who they need you to be. And a lot of times, that was something that I had to get over, and I didn't get over that until I was 28, 27. I didn't realize that being what God called me to be is far greater and far better than what I wanted to be. And so I had to learn that for myself. And like I said, man, that's what we just got to do with the next generation. Just set them up for failure, set them up what that looks like and how to navigate through that.
Man, listen, this has been more than what I've asked for. You guys have exceeded, I believe, my expectations in terms of content. And I believe a part 2 is coming for this Next Gen Tour. That is the goal. The goal is to have candid conversations that can literally empower not just Hype 831, not just those that are a part of Grace Community Church, but for those that are watching the replay and the world at large. And so tonight, I thank both Marcus and DeJuan for coming and having this conversation with us on this Next Gen Tour. And I just believe that part 2 is coming soon, and it's going to be that much more greater. So thank you both for being a part of this amazing conversation. And we can't wait to do part 2, man. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having this platform, man. We appreciate just the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Man, definitely appreciate it. Anytime, any place we need to discuss this, sign me up.
Absolutely. So there you have it. Those that are watching, thank you. Parents, students, those that are just watching at large, we are appreciative of your view. Next week, we will be here for our Next Gen Tour. We have some amazing guests, so make sure you tune in at 7 p.m. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because you want us locked in to the next event that's going to be at a screen near you. All right, be blessed. Can't wait to see you. Hype 831. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.